Hello, everybody. Welcome to the MPG Ranch. I have three amazing people that I want to let introduce themselves. Who are going to take you through a kill site analysis today and learn more than you ever wanted to about poop and tracks and fur and bones and all sorts of fantastic stuff.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm one of the trackers on this season. I'm somebody that gets to go out in the field and hike in the snow, wearing snowshoes, climbing up hills, climbing down hills, climbing up hills, looking mostly for tracks. So if you guys have any tracking related questions, we'll try to help you out.
Yes,
my name's Maggie.
Maggie, yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Katie. I'm another one of the trackers this season. So like Maggie, I go out and look for mountain lion sign. So we are excited to answer your all's questions this morning.
Wonderful.
My name is Joshua. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager at MPG Ranch, and I coordinate the Winter Mountain Lion Tracking Project. So I get to go out in the field too, not quite as much as these two, but I get out there as much as I can.
Awesome. So today what are we doing today?
Today we are going to analyze kill sites, and so we're going to look at some photos and some videos, and we're going to look for all the clues that we can in those to take apart a kill site, to determine what happened there, what animals are visiting, and what predators are responsible.
I'm wondering if we want to take a look at the ranch today just to see sort of what's happening and see what the weather's like and what it looks like outside. You can see a little bit behind Joshua and Maggie and Katie, but it's, well, tell us, what's the weather doing?
It's snowing.
Is that good for trackers?
This is fantastic for trackers, yes. As long as it keeps snowing.
All right, so what we have here is a map of the ranch. Thank you, trackers.
Yeah.
So we are looking at Upper Indian Ridge here, and looking out over some of the bitter brush and grasslands of the ranch. You can see that it's snow covered and snowing.
Yeah.
So you can't see real far into the distance as a result. We have a live camera system on the ranch, so if you want to go on our website, you can bring all these cameras up and you can move them around and you can see what's going on out here and watch the elk and watch the wild horses and connect with what's going on at the ranch this way.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Well, what I want to do right now is I want to take you and share with you just the kill site photo that we're going to be taking a look at today. You all should have a copy of this, or this should be something that you maybe have seen before. It's a really lovely, what kind of animal is this, Joshua?
This is a mule deer buck.
It's a mule deer buck. And so this is the site that we are going to be analyzing. So before we get started, let's check in with our schools. Let's check in with the people on the live stream. And let's check on if there's anybody on the chat function. Let's go ahead and do that. And what I'd like you to do is maybe introduce yourself really quickly. And also if you have any questions to get us started. And we're going to go back and we're going to talk to Joshua, not the dead deer, while we do this. But let's go ahead and start with Lincoln. Lincoln, would you introduce yourself and see if you have any questions for Joshua?
Okay, Delia, stand up and say hi. I'm Delia. And face. There you go.
Hi, I'm Delia. And I have a question. My question
Hi, Delia.
is, hi. My question is, how did you guys start with this program?
That is a great question. Thank you. So we started this program several years ago. It actually began in December of 2012, and we tracked our first mountain lion then. And what we wanted to do was answer questions about how many Individual mountain lions we have using the ranch property, which is about 25 square miles, and then in the surrounding area too, we go off the ranch property quite a bit into Forest Service land. And we wanted to answer that question, and so we also wanted to see how they use the landscape, which is why we use GPS units to track ourselves and to create lines and maps and things so we know where the mountain lions are going. And we partnered up with a researcher working out of the Yellowstone area, Mike Sawaya, who is a wildlife biologist and has a company that runs programs very similar to this one. He also studies bears and otters and all sorts of other things. But we partnered with him because of his expertise in this area, and along with him we developed this program and built up all our protocols and figured out how to get the DNA and keep everybody safe and do all that stuff. So that's how we started this program. Was bringing him in and then working with him to develop it, and then I've been off and running with it since then. We've been getting better and better each year as we figure out how to be more efficient and more productive.
Awesome. Chinook, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself, and ask, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask.
My name's Hannah. I have a question. How long is normally one track? Do you go on for days, or do you just go for an hour, or how long?
That is an excellent question as well. Thank you. So we go out and we track day by day. So trackers they'll get up and they can tell you. They get up really early in the morning, usually in the dark, and we'll go out and start tracking at first light, and we'll track all day until they run out of light. So they'll follow a track for that entire day or as much of the day as they can. And then because we're all in contact with each other, email, if it's a track that's worth continuing, then that tracker or another will go out the next day and follow the same track. So what we want to do is get as long a track as possible. So we'll try to follow them for as long as they're worth following. So as long as the tracks are good.
Wonderful. How about on the live stream? Do we have any questions? No questions yet. All right. Well, what we're going to do right now is I would like you to take a look at your kill site analysis. Do you want to hold that up for them so you can see what you've got? Yes, your kill site analysis. And what we're going to do, you'll also have a picture of the kill site. Yeah, I see it. I see you guys have that. You'll notice that there are a lot of there's some categories. There's a possibly, a probably, and a positively category there. Underneath it, you'll find lots of different information about hair and bones and teeth and scat and the fur. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at those things, and on the live conference, I would like Lincoln, I would like you to really focus on hair, scat, and let's go with tracks. And Chinook, I would like you to really focus on teeth and the carcass itself, and kind of the where that is in relationship to its environment. And what we're going to do is you will be in charge of asking questions to Joshua as we go through this. And those on the live stream, you get to sort of pick which areas are very interesting to you, and go ahead and type those questions into the chat function. And so we're going to walk you through the kill site. And as we're doing that, I want you to start generating some questions. Okay, so let's switch over to our content. Take me just a second. Going over to the computer. Here we go.
Oh boy, it's right side up.
It's right side up this time. We're all
So
really excited about this.
Yeah, I've been getting dizzy all day watching it sideways.
And hopefully.
All right, so I'm going to kind of walk you through this. So I can see tracks already. This path in the snow, the very obvious path, is how the animal or animals have been coming and going. But I can see some good track definition already in there. Do we walk up? That was a good one. We just went past there. So let's
Oh, do we want to go back a little bit?
see if I can spot another one here. Probably in these like lighted areas. Just
Rocks
pause
there?
here.
Oh,
okay.
right there.
Right there is a great track. So I can see that very clearly. It's kind of the bottom center. So that I can see toes, I can see heel pad. That's going to tell me a lot right there.
Okay.
Keep going.
Keep going.
And as we keep moving along here, we see other stuff.
Oh,
So
what
if
if
you
we
pause
pause?
again, we see other tracks in the snow. And so those look like bird tracks. And so we've had some birds visiting as well.
Okay, we'll keep going.
We've got lots of other bird tracks off to the side. Looks like they've been hopping around. So we get in here, we've got even more traffic coming and going.
Oh, what was this? Do we know? Oh,
Whoops, hey Craig. So we're coming up on the kill site now. So the first thing we do, of course, is to be sure that it's safe to even approach. Because what I don't want you to do out there is get excited about finding something like this and go running up on it, because you could startle a predator that's feeding or one that's nearby, and you could get yourself in trouble pretty quick. So the first thing that we do is make sure that the scene is safe. And we want to look around and make sure that we're not going to get ourselves into trouble by going up and checking all this stuff out. We have some other really good clues here just off to the side, kind of lower right there. The cursor is circling it. That's a wing impression from a bird that landed. So that's some of my favorite tracks to find. So we know we've got other visitors to this as well. Larger tracks, smaller tracks, and boy, this is just tons of tracks all over the place. So here we've got the mule deer. You get some tracker shadow. We've got the carcass is all piled up. I can see the spinal column. I can see ribs that have been munched away so that the predator and scavengers are able to get into the body cavity to get to organs. You can see this is a pretty big individual. I see a lot of hair right around the site. What I'm not seeing is bits and pieces of this all over the place. So the legs are all there. There isn't like a leg over here and a leg over there, so it hasn't been taken by lots of individuals to different places. As we come around here and look at the organs, we can see that the rumen, well here we're circling, those are the hard organs.
Yep.
So to the right is the rumen and the intestines moved off to the side. And then over by the carcass, we have some of the organs left, some like the lungs and liver and things like that. More hair, mats of hair being pulled away from the deer. You can see all the legs are still there and intact. And then we come over here to a really important clue. Look at these tracks that take us over to a latrine site. So this is a place where the predator deposited their poop all in one spot. Oh, hey, Greg. Greg, yeah, sorry we keep bringing him in at various moments here. So anyway, we get into this latrine site, and so this is where the predator would go to the bathroom and then cover it up, and then go to the bathroom and cover it up. And so this predator is neat and tidy about this, whereas other predators will just leave that all about the landscape.
interesting.
So we got a lot of clues to work with.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want everybody to take a minute. We're going to turn and talk. Think about some of the things that we have just seen. And then we're going to come back, and I'd like to hear from everybody with some questions that you have that can help you identify who made the kill and who has been and visited the kill site. Okay, so we will pause for 1 minute. You guys turn and talk, and then we'll come back to everybody.
Okay, so turn to your partner, find a partner and turn and talk about it. What did you see there? What do you, I'm not going to ask over and over for you to sit up. Jared, you can good talk. Logan, get over and talk with Noah. Talk in groups or?
I had cats before, and one of them was and they would, when they went to the bathroom, a couple of them it was irritating because we'd go in there, we'd smell it, and but I'm also
What are some major questions we have?
Okay, we're going to come back and we're going to start off with Chinook. Chinook, what questions do you have based on this kill site for Joshua? So far. Chinook, are you there?
We are here.
All right.
Someone have a
Question. Do you have a question for Joshua based on the information we have just seen? Clarification? Yes.
so during a kill site, do they leave any meat there, or how much meat did they leave behind?
So if I'm hearing that correctly, the question was there any meat left behind? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So this kill site is still, it's an active site. So what you're seeing with that tour is not where things were ultimately left. So there's still meat on that deer. There's still organs. So the animal that killed this deer is still going to return to that site to keep feeding until it's pretty much gone. And so until it's just like, bones and some hide left. So we would put a camera on it so that we can get really good footage at this point because there's still a lot of meat on there.
Good. Another question, Chinook.
So be your questions, right?
How many times has the prey returned to the kill site?
I don't know how many times specifically, but we know that this predator bedded nearby and would return to the kill site mostly at night. So probably returning multiple times over the course of almost a week.
Good question. One more from Chinook.
How long ago would you say the kill would have happened?
I would say that kill is pretty recent. So that one we would have found that's probably only, a couple days old.
Very good. Okay, let's go to Lincoln. Lincoln, what questions do you have for Joshua?
Tavo, do you have one? Noah? Go, stand up and turn around so they can see you, hon.
My question is, that hole that you said that there was all that scat in, it was pretty neat. So my question is, do you think it's a mountain lion? Because cats usually keep their space neat.
I think that, I can't answer your question because I want to keep people digging into the clues, but I think that you are onto something really good there, and you're definitely thinking in the right direction. So I'm glad that you're asking those questions.
Very good. How about another question from Lincoln?
Okay. Andrew? Crimson? Turn around so they can see you.
Was there any little tracks buy it, like, did it have a baby with it?
Oh, you're asking if there were baby tracks along too? So that's a really good question too. That's one of the ways that we can tell the difference between male and female is often, certainly with mountain lions, the females, if they have young, they'll have little baby tracks following them around. And sometimes those little baby tracks are pretty big because the babies are with them for almost a couple of years, so they can get pretty much full size. But yeah, extra tracks like that are a pretty good giveaway about male or female.
Good question. I see another hand up in Lincoln.
Hey, Cameron, do you want to turn around so they can see her?
So did you guys find any fur?
Yeah,
Like
we found hair at this kill site, and we found scat at this kill site, so it was a really good spot for us for DNA.
Well, it could be kind of hard to tell the difference between mule deer hair and cougar hair because they're both like a dark gray. Or I mean, dark brown.
There might be more
You are
colors.
definitely correct with that picking predator hair out of a giant pile of mule deer hair is really hard. So that's why I really like the latrine sites, because they have all the poop in one place.
Oh, interesting. Now, I think we have some questions from our live streaming friends as well.
Yes, so we do have a question. We think it may be from Fayetteville, but we're not sure. But the question is, when you are out on the trails, do you carry a weapon with you in case animals are near?
I think that's a really important question. So safety is very important to us. And so trackers will go out in teams of 2 because they're safer that way. And they're much less likely to encounter a problem if there's more than one individual. Also, you can just twist an ankle or something too, so it's good to have a buddy out there in the field with you. But we carry bear spray with us because we don't want to kill the animals that we're studying, so we don't carry guns, but we do carry bear spray because that keeps us safe. And then if we had a negative interaction or an aggressive encounter with an animal, that would also teach the animal a valuable lesson, where if they're aggressive towards people, they get a really negative response in the bear spray, and then they will probably not want to do that again. So that's the route that we go for safety. Because bear spray works on everything. Nothing wants to be shot with bear spray.
Did we have some other ones?
Not so far, but that was from Central Square Middle School in Central Square, New York.
Oh,
Great question.
fantastic. Thank you, New York.
Yeah.
Thank you, New York. Okay, so let's do a really quick review of what we've learned so far.
Yeah, and I should throw in there, so for people who aren't familiar with what bear spray is,
Oh,
it's
good.
like a small fire extinguisher full of mace. So it's a pepper spray that is really, it's not gonna kill an animal and it's not gonna permanently hurt an animal, but it affects the mucous membranes of the nose and the eyes and the respiratory tract, and it burns terribly, and it makes them not want to attack you.
Interesting. Okay, so let's review what our detectives have uncovered thus far.
Detectives have been paying close attention to hair. Sounds like they've been paying close attention to scat. That latrine site was a really big clue. And we've talked about tracks, and we've talked about are there multiple individuals? Are there other things visiting? I think we've talked a bit about the state of the site itself, about it being really neat and contained versus being spread out all over the place.
Joe, I have a question. So on that, with it being very neat and contained, what does that tell you about kind of animal? Like don't all animals just kind of kill things and just leave them there?
Well, no. So we have animals, predators like wolves and coyotes are often not solitary and are not the most efficient killers. So they will take an animal down by grabbing often at the rear legs just to slow it down, and then others come in and will grab the throat or just take it down or whatever. But they kind of start taking things apart more readily at that point, and bits and pieces get spread out all over the place. So with wolves and with coyotes, they spread the bits and pieces all around the landscape.
We also haven't asked a question about bites and marks, right?
I'm curious. I know that some of our schools are thinking about that. We have a few pictures that are close-ups of this kill site. I'm wondering if Joshua will walk us through those, and then for another round of questions.
Okay.
Then we're going to have our big reveal. We're going to have everybody. You'll have to solve the mystery to figure out who did it, who's been there, and we'll have our big reveal. But first of all, let's take a look at it, just a few pictures, and maybe that will shed some insight on what we've got on here.
All right. So these are some tracks, and these tracks are showing something that we call direct register. And what that means is that the front foot steps down in the snow, and then the back foot of that same side steps right in that same track. So, like front right foot and then front rear foot ends up in that same one, So you get this alternating pattern of like front right foot down, left, right or left front foot down, and then the rear feet step right in those same tracks. So it's very clean, and they land right on top of each other. It's also very efficient to get around the forests, especially in snow. Lots of animals use this in the snow. It's not just limited to cats, because in snow this is a really energy efficient way to get around. But this is an example of direct register. Also, straddle is another word that we use, which means like the hip width or the shoulder width of an animal. How broad that animal is, and this has very narrow straddle. So if I drew a line down the center of these tracks trying to draw between them, I'd end up bumping into those tracks. And so that's going to tell me that this is definitely predator tracks, whereas deer and elk are built wider, they have wider straddle, and their tracks are spread further apart, and you can draw a line down the middle and not run into the inside toes of those tracks. So these are some of the clues that we use. We can also look at this tape measure and say that we've got a pretty long stride length here too, so this is a bigger individual.
Okay. How about this? What are we looking at here?
We're looking at a latrine here, and so we've definitely got some really good tracks on the kind of upper right-hand part of the screen, and we've got scat in that pile of pine needles. And
should we take a closer look at that scat while we've got it up here?
So this is kind of a grosser version of scat. It's a little on the wetter side, but often what we find with scat is that it is cylindrical and segmented and has a fair amount of hair in it. That little trailing edge on the left is not always very common in this particular type of scat.
Interesting. What are we looking at here?
Here we're looking at a drag mark. So you can see it looks like somebody went sledding downhill. And this is where a predator dragged a deer or an elk downhill into some cover. And those drag marks often stay visible for a long time in the snow, as long as they don't get buried with a big snowfall.
How heavy is a deer of this size?
So the one that we're looking at is probably a deer that was almost 200 pounds.
So this would be like dragging your dad through the snow.
Yes.
Okay. On a sled, let's put it that way. Yeah. Taking your dad for a sled ride. So you can imagine that it definitely will leave. With your teeth. A pretty good size drag mark. And
it's a fun family challenge for
you'll have to have some pretty strong teeth in order to drag your dad through the snow. Yeah. Not recommended for trying at home. So what we're going to do now is I want you to all turn and talk. We're going to take another minute. I want you to turn and talk. Figure out your last questions. We're going to do a round of questioning. We'll do one more turn and talk. And then I want to hear from each place on the live stream, in Lincoln, in Chinook, what they think happened at this kill site. So go ahead, turn and talk. We'll be back in 1 minute.
They dragged him to that just by one paw. One key is like 1,000 pH. It's so much. Yes, and that was technically winter. Miss Rex, what's PSI stand for again? Pounds? I think it's for inch.
Okay, we're going to come back. Let's start with Mrs. Mannix's class this time.
Okay, Noah?
I was thinking that if the predator dragged the animal through like that, it can't be a bear because they're hibernating and their paws are way bigger. It could be a mountain lion because it's an individual and they could drag a 200-pound deer through the snow. It can't be a pack of any kind, so no wolves, no coyotes. So my biggest shot is a mountain lion, but I think I also have another of a and if it's dragging its prey through the snow, it can't be a birds of prey of any kind because they're not that big.
This is some really good reasoning.
Yeah, good job. Way to really think that one through. I like where you're going. That's fantastic.
Do you have any last questions to help with any other clarification?
Do you have any?
Looks like lots of
And-
questions.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Jericho, you have a question? Come on over so they can hear you. Gotta move out of the way just for a second. Go away. There you go.
My question is that, like, since the footprints in the snow were, like, so close together, do you think that it could have been, like, walking, like, slowly or fast?
How fast was it moving, in other words? Okay, good question.
It's a great question because wolves and mountain lions have two different hunting strategies, and that's reflected in how they move across the landscape, and we see that in their tracks. So wolves and coyotes and dogs like that will kind of go through the landscape at a light jog. We call it a trot, and they move through the landscape that way, and then they spook something or they smell something, and they'll go chase it down. Where mountain lions are an ambush predator, and so they tend to move through the landscape at a walk, and they will sneak up on things and pounce on them to ambush them. Not to say that mountain lions can't run or don't run or can't trot, like all animals are capable of walking or trotting or running, but they have a preferred method that they tend to use to get around the landscape. So that question is a really, really good one.
Good. Good. Do we have any, no questions on the live stream? Chinook, do you have any questions?
I think it's a mountain lion, probably because, well, it says on the kill site analysis that it's positively killed by mountain lion if there's drag marks. And then on the possibly killed, it says, has Scat been covered up?
Excellent. Those are two really big clues. That's important stuff you're looking at.
Love that. Anyone else in Chinook?
So we think it's a mountain lion. How the carcass was in a pile and how the scat was in a pile underneath the bush.
Yeah, so those are two really big, important clues. Definitely. Good work.
Question?
Excellent. Any questions from Chinook?
So when you're looking at kill sites, do you find any like teeth in the bone? bone from like predator, like teeth.
Maybe teeth or marks on the bones from any of the predators?
Yeah, you can see some predators will break longer bones open, like the longer leg bones, to get to marrow inside, and that's a pretty good clue about who's there. And we'll find, teeth marks on bones. We'll find puncture marks in the hide, and around like the neck or something like that, or scratches on the nose are also definitely clues.
Were there things on this kill site? Like that?
Yeah, on this kill site we found puncture marks at the base of the neck, and a broken neck, and scratch marks on the nose.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm wondering, should we find out what actually happened?
They've got some good guesses.
I think they have really good guesses. All right, boys and girls, we are going to, in just a second, share the video because, as Joshua said, when they find a kill site, a lot of times they will go and put a camera on it. And so we are lucky enough to actually see who's there and what happened. Also, it's kind of fast because we sped it up a little bit to get more images in there. Oh. Uh-oh. I just did something. Sorry, everybody. Let's try this again. Take 2. Play the video of what actually happened. Nope. I don't want the pin color. I want it to play. There we go.
Alright, so here we have, again, night footage. So a lot of mountain lions are more active at night and at dawn and dusk than they are during the day. So you get a lot of really good night footage from kill sites. Not to say that they aren't out during the day. They will move during the day, they'll feed during the day, they will do things. But it's more common that they're active at night. Yeah, so that fox shows that other individuals show up. So we get scavenging predators coming in, we get fox and coyote and other things. And then this is later, so this is during the day, or maybe like dawn or something, and we've got mountain lion kind of investigating before it moves on, because everything's pretty much eaten. And here we have an immature golden eagle. You can tell by the banding at the base of the tail, that white banding shows that it's an immature golden eagle. And then we've got magpies feeding as well. So this is the day shift. They often come in and feed on these kill sites during the day.
The day shift. Did you hear him say that, you guys? They're the day shift. They're the
And then
scavengers.
that is Selly. That's Tyler's tracker. It's Tyler's dog showing up. Selly is not feeding on the kill site. I hope not.
All right. So that's a little story of what happened. How many of you got it right?
Sounds like everybody got it right.
Yay,
Were you able
to?
Yeah.
I love it. Well, you know what I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring our tracker extraordinaires back on. And I would like for them just to recount a tracking story for you live. And then you'll have an opportunity to ask them a few questions.
Hey everyone.
Hello?
Hi.
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 Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story about the one you followed the other day?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, Kathleen is talking about this time that a fellow tracker and I, not Maggie, I was with another girl named Kaya, but we were walking up a snowy forest road and came across a mountain lion track that was going straight across the road, which was pretty exciting for us to find it right there in that kind of convenient spot. So we started following the track up this pretty steep hill, And sometimes when you get on a track, it just takes you on a big adventure across the landscape, which this track definitely did. So we were going up steep hills, down steep hills, into draws and drainages. And this cat seemed to be having a really, really good time as it was out exploring. So it was like jumping off of rocks and sort of running down hills and then changing its mind and going in a different direction. And it would go up to little holes in the ground where it looked like maybe a rodent was living, like a little rodent den, and you would see paw prints where the mountain lion kind of poked its head in and then kept running. At one point there were bird tracks along the ground, and the mountain lion had kind of like hopped along the bird tracks to check those out. So all in all, we decided that this was probably a younger mountain lion who was sort of just acting like a kitten, right? So it was just having a lot of fun as it was traveling across the landscape. And that was really cool for us to build that connection with a mountain lion that we were tracking, and sort of see a little bit of its personality maybe and the way that it used the landscape. And we were super excited because towards the end of the track and the end of our day, we found some great scat underneath a big tree where it seemed like the mountain lion had like a gorgeous view of all these mountains while it pooped. So a good day for the mountain lion. So yeah, that was a really fun track that I got to follow.
Great. Maggie, do you have a story?
Sure. Yeah. So like she said, with the young ones that kind of show all of this behavior, they meander around and stuff. One of my favorite trackings was when I actually heard the cat first, and followed up on it a few days later. It was the mom talking to her kittens, or kittens talking to her mom, and went to the spot where I heard it, and lo and behold, there were the tracks, and it was very similar. Like, the kittens were all around playing. The mom was going one direction, and the kittens were just roaming in every which way around her. But I've also followed what I think was a large male, and it's very different kind of mode of travel. Just kind of going in one direction, and it's like they know where they want to go, and they're just getting there, cruising through the landscape. And this one male that I followed, he scraped along the way, which is a behavior that they do to kind of mark their territory. So they take their hind legs and scrape, and it leaves like 2 ski marks in the ground. So this one male that I followed one day, we had 14 scrapes on the track. So just as he was going, he was marking his territory, and that was really cool to see. And the difference between the mom and the kittens versus the adult male.
Great. Let's see if the students have any questions for Maggie or Katie or Joshua about tracking and the jobs they do here at MPG Ranch. Let's start with Chinook. Chinook, do you have some questions for these folks?
How often do you guys find spots?
Say again. You cut out a little.
How often do you find kill spots?
Kill sites?
Yes.
How often? Yeah.
Well, usually more often than this season. This season we've found like 1 or 2 kill sites, and we're about halfway through our season, so we're like 6 weeks in already at this point. Usually we find them more regularly. So every couple of weeks we'd find a kill site typically, but this season we haven't found that many.
And why is it so important to find these kill sites for you?
They're really important for DNA. We find a lot of hair, we find a lot of scat, and scat is a very reliable source of DNA material for us. So they're really important for us.
And what does the DNA tell you?
The DNA tells us how many mountain lions we have in the area and individuals. So we can start to come up with family trees and who's related to who and all that business based on that DNA.
Great. And this is a big group in Chinook, so do you have another question, Chinookians?
A couple.
Yeah.
Do you see any animals being killed? Like when you're walking?
Ooh. Katie or Maggie, have you ever witnessed a killing?
I have never witnessed an animal being killed, no. I've witnessed predators scavenging on dead animals. So, like, I've watched like a bear or coyotes munching on something that was already dead, but I've never seen something be killed. That would be pretty cool.
How about you, Maggie?
I have, when I was working in Kenya in a forest, I saw a great crowned eagle take a baby monkey from his mom from the sky. Yeah, that was pretty sad, but not here in Montana, not with mountain lions, no.
How about Joshua?
I missed seeing a kill happen by, maybe like under an hour, and I found a scent post, which just clued me off first because it smelled like a litter box, like ammonia, and then I found a cached kill that was really, really fresh, and I was able to backtrack the drag marks to where that intersection happened, and so you could see where the mountain lion was crouched, you could see where the deer was walking along, and where they met each other, and then there was an incredible amount of blood in the snow, and then you could see where the mountain lion picked that animal up the deer by the neck, and straddled it and walked along, and then set it down, and it bled into the snow again, and picked it up and took it over to where it was cached. So you had a very clear picture of what happened there, and I just missed it.
Probably not super safe to come on something as it's being killed.
Yeah, you could have a problem for sure.
Yeah. Let's go to Lincoln. Lincoln, do you have any questions for these folks?
Tava, sit up and look at these guys so you can see.
What's the biggest animal you've ever seen killed?
On a kill site. The biggest animal on a kill site.
The biggest animal, like the biggest predator or the biggest prey animal?
The biggest prey.
Biggest prey animal.
For me, it's been elk.
How about
Elk?
you ladies?
A bison, was a big animal that I saw at a kill site.
Was that in Yellowstone?
It was, not at MPG Ranch. We don't have bison here, sadly.
How about Maggie?
Elephant.
Yeah. Okay, you win, Maggie.
Whatever.
Maggie wins.
Why you just throw down elephant?
I would like to travel.
Well, I think it was
Okay. Another question. Sorry, we were
Ethan.
laughing.
No, we were too. We had a lot of conversation going on also. Right here, so they can see your kneel on the red flag.
Yeah, another question.
What is the biggest track you have seen?
Biggest track
At
you have seen.
MPG.
the biggest one.
As their
Well, the biggest track I've seen is that male mountain lion that I followed. It's about 4.5 inches wide. Yeah, definitely. The male mountain lions have very large prints.
Yeah, I guess my answer would be the same for MPG, just a big tom or male mountain lion track.
For me, definitely a large tom mountain lion, but I've also tracked wolves on the property, and their tracks are huge. And I've tracked bear on the property, and their tracks are bigger than everybody else's. So bear would probably be the biggest track I've followed.
Great. One more question, Lincoln.
Okay, Delia?
So how you guys go traveling and stuff? What was the biggest scat and how was it really, was it near the kill site?
What was the biggest scat? Was it near your kill site?
Yeah, so mountain lions have pretty big scat compared to like a coyote or something like that. So whenever you see it, you're kind of like, oh wow, yeah, that's a mountain lion. It's noticeably larger in my experience.
I've come across latrines before where there are several samples and they're obviously from adults. There's a fresh one on top, you dig a little deeper, you get a little older one. Yeah.
So I want to know from both schools by raising hands, how many of you would love a job where you go around all winter and collect poop? Raise your hand if you think that sounds fun.
Yay for poop. 2 hands up.
Yeah.
For poop.
Do I get fun? Do I get paid?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You get paid.
Yes, you get paid.
Yes, you would get paid.
Oh, more hands.
Ask those good questions.
These are smart students.
Yeah.
They're not picking up poop.
They're not messing around.
Very cool. Okay, let's go back to Chinook for one more round of questions, and then we'll go to Lincoln for one more round, and then I think we're about out of time. So, Chinook, do you have questions about what's going on at AG?
How did you tell Foresight and a bear killed that mule? I don't know.
Mule deer.
Mule deer. How did you tell that a bear killed it?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, that is a really great question. Conveniently for us, being that we're a winter project, the bears are all hibernating right now. So we can rule out a bear as the predator that would be killing, hunting and killing the mule deer. Right now. But one of the clues for kill sites, bears will eat the rumen or the stomach contents, and nothing else does. So that's one of the big clues. Bears really like that pre-digested grass. For them, that's a score. They eat grass anyway, so they'll eat that. But a wolf or a mountain lion will not eat that.
Okay, I'm going to throw that back to Chinook, because I know they're really, really bright students, because I know their principal. Okay, Chinook students, why would a bear be okay with eating that stomach with grass in it, but wolves and coyotes wouldn't? What's the difference between a bear and coyotes or mountain
Good
lions?
question.
Hey, Chinook.
The difference is kind of like when a bear eats like grass, it's helping its stomach work with the rest of the stuff they put in it. So kind of like when a dog eats grass. But coyotes and wolves don't like that because
Getting warm.
There's words that one starts with an O and one starts with a C.
Bears are. Bears.
Yes.
I kind of heard you. You cut out there. What were you saying?
Bears are omnivores, and coyotes, wolves, and mountain lions be carnivores.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. That's
That is
where I was
correct.
going. Yeah, good thinking, you guys. Yeah, bears will eat berries and all kinds of.
Yeah, the larger part of their
Vegetation.
diet
Yeah.
is vegetation.
Very cool. Another question, Chinook?
what's the biggest you have ever
What is the biggest kill site?
Okay. Have you ever seen like more than one animal in one spot?
Yeah, we did actually. What we showed you, that mountain lion was hammering mule deer in that drainage, and there were like 3 of them in a row. So there's like that kill site that was largely fed on and consumed, and then there was like another one just a little bit further down, and like another one after that. So this mountain lion was really having a great time with the mule deer, and very successful, and they were quite close to each other.
Great. Okay, let's go to Lincoln for a final question.
Okay. Izzy?
Have you guys ever found it like a pile or piles of prey?
Prey or-
Prey.
Okay.
Of prey, a pile or piles of prey?
Like things on top of things?
Yes.
I have not.
I have not either.
Kathleen,
Yes.
did you find piles of prey underneath your cabin?
I did find piles of prey underneath my cabin. That is true. Yes, under my deck in my cabin last winter lived a very comfortable mountain lion, And there were a lot of deer right there because we were logging, and he was living there just pulling deer and having a good time. So, yeah, I had to clean that up. Yeah, one more question from Lincoln.
Okay, Noah.
Have you seen any kill sites that certainly were wolves or coyotes? And if you did, what did they kill?
Ooh, good thinking. How about Katie or Maggie? Have you ever seen kill sites that you knew were coyotes or wolves?
I have not on MPG property, but I have in Yellowstone. I've seen elk that were killed by wolves.
We had a teammate, one of our tracking teammates came across a coyote kill site, and it was a doe deer, so a smaller deer, maybe 2 years old.
That was just this week, right?
That was just this week, yeah. She using her detective skills determined that a pack of coyotes had taken it down.
We'll actually be sending you a recording of that KSI site, so that you can look at later. That's good though, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, coyotes. I don't believe that I've seen a wolf kill site, but I have seen coyote kill sites that fit the description of what our other teammate found perfectly.
Great. Well, boys and girls, I think we're about out of time, so I want to thank Joshua, Katie, and Maggie for being with us, and thanks for your great questions and your good detective work. We hope that you continue to learn a lot about mountain lions and the great world outdoors, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.